So welcome. Thank you, Enoch, for your availability for this talk, for this conversation.
Thank you for having
thank you. Yeah, and thank you to the interns of the Peggy Guggenheim Collection to also to be here and be curious and attentive to this show and to Enoch's work. So as I was telling to Enoch, me and my colleague Chiara are in the galleries of the Collezione Maramotti where the show is on display. So maybe if you, during the conversation, if you would like to see some details or some picture of the works on show, we're here to support this nearer view, this closer view. But maybe the best thing to start is to ask the interns if they have some questions, to start speaking with Enoch, some curiosities, because they already received some materials and information about the show, so maybe they've already ready something to ask to you.
Okay, cool, I'm here.
I may ask Enoch just to break glass, break ice.
Yeah.
Maybe to speak a bit, it's very interesting for me the way this exhibition has taken form, starting from this very painting I have behind my shoulders,
right,
which is the first painting Enoch did dedicated to the Casa Mollino.
Yeah, it was the first Casa Mollino. It was also the first painting of an interior that I did. You know, what happened was that I did a show a few years ago for the Dallas Contemporary Museum, and it was a show concentrating on the work of architect Philip Johnson. And you know, what I discovered throughout the year that it took me to make the exhibition was that I really didn't like Johnson, which was to my surprise. You know, I did a big study on him and I got to understand him better, and I wasn't a big fan, and it kind of turned me off of doing architectures. So I had been doing paintings of architectures and buildings for a few years before that, and what happened was that I was turning 50 at the time too. So I felt like it was time to like do something else. And so I got a few friends and I closed the studio for a year, and to see if I could make something new, that it wasn't like the work that I did before. You know, it's gonna be the same work, but it's gonna be something else. So I started, a friend of mine suggested to paint interiors. I thought it was a bad idea at first, but then I knew so many interiors just from my head. And the first interior I made was Casa Mollino. Still today is the most beautiful. And you know, at the same time, I started to make paintings of Carlo Mollino's Polaroids that he took inside that apartment. And you know, the interest grew from there. And you know, Carlo Mollino is like the kind of archetype for masculinity, at least as I understand it. And you know, I sort of like, actually, after I had the painting for like 6 months in the studio, I thought, oh, you know what, I should call Luigi Maramotti and show him this painting, because he's kind of that guy. You know, he's a little bit of a Mollino. Like Luigi, like plays instruments. He's a accomplished musician, like businessman, like, you know, certainly not like me, you know, just a guy that comes here to paint. So I thought maybe he'd like it. And, you know, that's where the conversation started. Then Luigi and I went to Sarah with the idea. And then Sarah made sense of all of it, because we had some idea, but then Sarah like organized it in a way that, you know, is understandable and like smart. So that's what we did. Does that make sense? Okay, cool. And if I'm speaking too fast or anything, tell me. You know, I can speak Spanish as well if I can, if you guys want, but you know, that's, don't have Italian with me.
Can I ask, when you say, sorry, thank you so much for speaking with us.
No problem.
My name is Sabina. I was just wondering, when you say you didn't like Philip Johnson after your research, are you referring to his work, or him as a personality, or like aesthetically, or what do you mean by that?
All of it. Um, the work, I think, is good architecture. The style-wise, I think it was very promiscuous, and I'm not putting it down. I'm just saying that style-wise, it was whatever the client wanted, and the style seemed to be dictated by the needs of the client, um, which makes me think about capitalism and the point we're in right now. At least, like now coming out of 4 years of a conservative party regime or government here in the United States, and it is good architecture because he was a good architect. They're good buildings. They're made for living, and some of it is really, really good, but some of it's really, really bad too. And also, during my research, I discovered that the guy was a Nazi, actually, and that just, I don't know if that's very likable, And he blamed. Even more troublesome for me is that years later, when asked, like, why were you like a Nazi sympathizer, he just said something to the point that he was just into it because of the boys dress in leather, kind of like, because of his gayness, which I think is just terrible. I don't think being gay make you a Nazi, or it's just, I just don't like it. Look, my job as an artist is not to be judging anybody, but knowing about his personality, about his politics, etc., made it more difficult for me to complete the project. I was also at a point that I wanted to do something else. So, when you look, in the art world, when you're 25 to 30, it's great because you're like, if you get discovered and you go through the whole thing, it's wonderful in terms that people think you're going to be the next big thing, the genius. The work is inexpensive, so it's easier. But when you're 50, you're kind of old, and people, you're not new anymore. So you gotta invent. You have to reinvent yourself. You gotta make yourself interesting. Cannot sit here and blame anybody else. So if I'm not interesting to myself, I can't ask anybody to care. So, so you take everything, you risk everything. Burn your own house. Am I like veering off the question like by a lot? I think I am.
No, that was good. Thank you.
You see why I didn't like Johnson, because he was a Nazi. Cool. All right.
Yeah, it makes sense. I didn't know that about him.
Yeah, actually, it's well detailed, actually. He even designed a podium for the leader of the right-wing party in New York, based on one of Adolf Hitler's podiums. He also went to rallies in Germany, visited Poland. Listen to this story. This tells you a lot about the center of American architecture. The Glass House in Connecticut, his private house, the floor plan for that house was inspired by a house in Poland that he saw burning after a bombing. And the only thing that was standing was the chimney and the floor. That was the base for the Glass House in Connecticut. Those are the biggest features, are the chimney and the floor. So, of course, we're where we are as a country right now. And, just, I don't know, it made a lot of stuff clear to me. Boom, I think that's all I'm gonna say about that. Everybody's so serious.
May I ask you another question, Enoch, because
Yeah.
I really don't know. The first one was just to start speaking, but what do you feel, I mean, what do you feel when you're painting from the Polaroids? I mean, because it's kind of different from when
Yeah.
you deal with architecture
Actually,
and
let me see if
buildings
I
and
can add.
interiors.
Let me see if I can add somebody else so so we can show you the ones that I have here. I'm still making them today. I don't know what I'm gonna do with them. I'm just making them. And I tell you what I feel about the Polaroids. It's interesting because I think I done something like 16 of them. And it feels like I'm painting ghosts. They don't feel like portraits. I mean, they are real people. They're sensual, they're beautiful, they're strong. But they also feel like apparitions, like something from beyond. And that's probably the interesting part. Also, uh, I've been having visits here. People come by, and I cannot tell you how many. I'm not done, so I'm not gonna sell or show any of them yet. But it's like a group of paintings that everybody wants to show or buy, which is interesting because they're just not nudes or semi-nudes. There's something that operates in there. That's, call it taste. It could be as easy as taste. It could be that they're a little bit classic in form, but there's something that goes beyond that. And that's, of course, I can talk about the occult and all of that. And that's probably the attraction of it to me. Because look, if I want to paint figures, I can paint pop stars. There's plenty of people that are interesting and cool to paint right now. But those are different. And it's something that you cannot capture in painting necessarily, but a Polaroid can catch it. And if I can catch that spirit that I see in the Polaroid from the paintings, that would be very cool. And that's what I'm after. Um, I understand how it could be dismissed as an old guy painting a bunch of young girls, sure, but I think they're ghosts, really.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
You know.
It also has to do with with your relationship with photography, maybe, because it's
Of course.
kind of close. Because for the paintings, you usually take pictures from magazines or
Yeah.
books, or you shoot directly the pictures, like in the case of this exhibition at the Collezione. But in this case, it's really you're taking from a real Polaroid artwork that Mollino didn't consider an artwork maybe, but anyway, it's a Polaroid, it's an original picture taken by a photographer. So
Well, you know
it's
what's
another.
interesting? Uh, it is a ready-made, as every photograph in the Duchampian sense. And not only that, it's something that he never presented as a body of work. And it's probably one of the most accomplished bodies of work that he left. And he left a lot. I mean, the design is incredible. The architecture is wonderful. Uh, I mean, Teatro Reggio, it's beautiful. And these are really great. So actually, I can't believe that somebody else hasn't picked up on these pictures and painted them before me. It's there. And, I just, I feel like as a painter, I feel like I want to put them out there. It's, I don't even know what to title them. I think you just don't title them. Let the work speak in his spirit. Um, I know that I want to show them with like orange velvet on the walls and with spotlights like little Modigliani's, like really nice. And but I'm sure I'll do the show with somebody. I only have 15 paintings. I want to have 60, maybe in
60.
one show.
Great.
Yeah, 60, and I do like 2 shows or 3 shows. But I want the walls to be orange, and I want velvet, and I want carpets, and I want, if possible, furniture. We'll see. Actually, let me see if I can. Hey, Thompson, is there any way I can get the phone on this thing, like get myself in here on the phone so I can show everybody the work that I'm doing here?
We'd have to.
Thompson's gonna figure it out. That way I can take you around. Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm entering. Sorry about that. I hope I'm not keeping you too long. You may have to go to a bathroom or something. I'm just talk.
We're fine. We're here to speak with you. We're
Very
prepared.
good. Very cool.
That will be a super insight about the work you're doing now. I mean,
you know what? It's funny. I'm doing those Mollinos, and during this summer, like after the confinement here, everybody kept telling me how the drawings are so good. I'm making these drawings, and you know, like David Sala came by the studio and like, Enoc, those drawings are really great. And, you know, everybody comes by and like, Enoc, the drawings. Blah, blah, blah. So I'm making paintings of the drawings. As I use photography, I'm using my own drawings now. And I'm making paintings of them to see what happens. I mean, they're simpler images, but I think they'll be, it's going to take me like a year to develop, but I think it could be a cool thing to do. So
yeah, of course.
I'm doing that. I'm doing the Mollinos and, you know, whatever else comes to mind. And then I have a bunch of shows that we have not opened because of
course.
What is it, Corona?
Yeah.
So, but you know, hopefully, you know, we'll be doing a show in Hong Kong. I don't think I'm gonna go because, I mean, I don't know. It's far.
Do you see the drawings as works in themselves, or are you considering them like part of the process?
Do you see me twice? Look at this. Do you want to go around the studio? Look.
Yes, that would be great.
Okay, great. So I'm gonna take you to around. Do you mind turning on some lights? Because I'm gonna show you what I got on the walls. Does that, Sarah, does that even matter? Or
that's perfect. That's perfect. It's super preview.
Okay.
Yes.
No, it's just easier for me to talk because look, I have a presidential seal here. It's stupid. Okay. let's go with this.
Let's change the scenario.
Cool. Look.
Great.
So
super.
These are the paintings I'm making right now of like my drawing. They're scary. You see? And they look like America too. Like you see with the snake and everything. And
yeah.
You see, they're all from Instagram. And they're just very strange. But you see, it's the same thing that I was doing with the pictures, the greater pictures. That's for the Guildhall in East Hampton. It's a beach that I used to go to that disappeared with erosion. So I did 4 of these big paintings, and I made this sculpture here. And you see, it's about migrations and like what is it called? What is it? Environmental changes, whatnot. So those are kind of the new ones. I'll show you more, and I'll show you the drawing. Then here you see all the Mollinos. Do you see them? You see?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just starting to get a better light on it, but I'll get close. See, like they're all here. You see how they look kind of like phantoms, which is what they're kind of scary as they are beautiful. You see, there's something scary about them. So I'm making, you see, I keep making as many as I can. You see, based on the Polaroid.
Gina. The last one is Gina.
That's right. That's correct. I think that was his favorite model. And then I'm gonna show you like the drawings that So these are some of the drawings that I'm making now, and I just take them from Instagram and just paint pictures that I like. You see, the drawings are simple, and I think, you know, I have fun with them. You see, that's New York City. Those are paintings made from these. You see, they look different because I'm parting from drawings, very Warholian, actually. And you see, so that's what I'm developing now. They have words, you know, there's really less rules. And you see, they look like the drawings.
Yeah. Is it the first time that you use words inside paintings or drawings?
Yeah, it is the first time because I always looked at photographs to make the paintings. And now I'm using my own drawings to make the paintings. So it's completely different. Same method.
Different
Same
sources.
method, different way of doing things. You see, so anyway, that gives you an idea of what I'm doing in here. You see, so,
thank you. It's always nice to see faces.
Those are the Mollino, and I have more. I'm gonna sit by the desk now so I can hear you better because I can't talk. Can you?
Thank you, Thompson, for making this possible.
Wait, how do I get in here?
Hold on 1 second.
Voila. All right. So, yes.
Thank you so much. But anyway, I think that maybe it's also part of your technique that maybe you can explain better to the interns from the Peggy Guggenheim, the way to get your images and your works a kind of a bit of ghostly and evanescent in the architecture and also in the human body, like in the cases of the Mollino's models. So maybe you can tell something about the technique you use to paint.
Sure. You know, it's rather simple. I have on a piece of paper, I apply oil paint on the back of the paper. So imagine this paper has oil paint. Let's imagine this is a canvas with the paper with oil paint in the back. I draw the images on top of the canvas. It's like a carbon paper. So the image stays there. So it's a primitive way of printmaking. Maybe I can demonstrate if you like. Look, let me see how I can. Do we have like an oil stick? Can you get? Yeah, I'm gonna do it. So because, you know, I explained this a million times and I can never be clear enough. So the only way I can be clear is by actually demonstrating it, because it's just, you know, it just never works. I got another piece of paper to put the piece of paper. I have a pencil, which I need. Thompson's bringing me, what is it? Oil paint, thank you. And I'll show you. It's fairly simple. It's a very primitive way of printmaking. I started it because I came to New York City in the 80s, and I came here because of two painters, Andy Warhol and Jean-Michel Basquiat, which still are like northern lights for me. And, you know, I realized that Warhol, Rauschenberg, actually take it all the way up to Christopher Wool. There's a tradition of printmaking in the process of painting in New York City. So I thought if I use our technique of printmaking in my process, that may be interesting. And oh, look at this. Thompson has like, okay, oil paint, you see, on the back of a paper. Very simple. Let's imagine this is a canvas. And look, let's say I want to draw a flower. You get a print, see? every color is applied in that way. You know, then I could take a yellow. Let's do the yellows. And the funny thing is, at the end of the day, thanks, I don't use any brushes in my process, which is not intentional, but you know, but then Jackson Pollock didn't use brushes, so that's cool. But you know, it's not something I cared about. It's not what I was trying to do. I was just trying to belong. Sounds pathetic, but you know.
You don't need any brushes. I mean, it's a
No,
technique you have been developing.
Well, yeah, it's a technique. Look, it's a way to relate to your environment. New York City, it has a tradition of painting, and you know, I mean, why make pastoral paintings, which I like to make, but you know, it's not about relaxing. It's about trying to do something. So it's work. I like it, but it's work.
Maybe I could show to the interns some details
Yeah.
on the canvases about this, even if they already have seen. But as you may see, the painting is not, I mean, uniform. It's rather.
It's because it's printed. You see, I included the Man Ray in there.
Is it everything printed? Everything is printed, even the plain shapes, like
everything.
Oh, that's incredible.
Everything. And if there's details, I just cut little pieces of paper, and I applied the color through, because you cannot cheat. It's kind of an old-fashioned concept, but it's important.
Okay.
You have to be thorough in terms of being who you say you are.
And I'm curious, because you have different colors, of course. So do you create layers? Do you think of, like, I'm going to start with the clear or lighty colors, and then you put up the darker ones? Or, like, I'm curious how do you think the process of the painting? Do you
start with, I tell you, depends. First of all, you want to decide whether you're going to make an abstract palette or, you know, a moody palette. I tend to go for mood because the painters that I grew up watching, Goya, Velázquez, Picasso, Spanish painting uses paint like palette to show emotion or psychology, whatever that may be. So I tend to base my palette on reality. I start usually with a blue, because once I saw in like a Modigliani painting that his underdrawing was in blue, and I thought that was interesting, and it worked for him. So I used blue to start. Then I do yellows, oranges, reds. I finish him with black. Like black or purples are always the last colors. If I have to reinforce any color, I go with little pieces of paper and I accentuate it. And you know, they're really obsessive, and you know, that's something that could be considered you know, like a weakness, but it's a strength for the paintings, so that's good.
Yeah, it's a very, very interesting method. I'm really wow, because even you kind of your palette is on the canvas. I mean, like, so you mix colors in the canvas. You don't have
correct, like a color separation, and like and it's look, I'm far away from being a conceptualist, but it's just a conceptual way of constructing a painting with a very simple image. And look, it may go over people's heads sometimes. Like they're like, oh, you know, a figure, interior, but you know, you know, painting is a slow process. So
I just wanted to ask, because I've been looking on your Instagram and I've seen like all of the recent drawings that you just showed us. And I wanted to ask about how you're maybe using Instagram now as a tool to sell your work, as opposed to maybe years previously, and whether you're turning more to that now.
I love that question, actually. I think Instagram's like really important. And I tell you in which ways. For me, Instagram was a way of taking charge of my own narrative, which usually the gallery used to do for you. I have always been in galleries that kind of like paint you as a recluse, that you stay in your studio and they make this mythology about you. And look, I go and buy toilet paper. I'm like regular dude. I live the life of an accountant. It's actually boring. But Instagram allowed me to take my narrative, to show you who I think I am, at least. Instagram, for example, with the drawings right now, is very much part of the process, because the drawings, a lot of the images come out of Instagram, because I'm trying to decipher what today looks like. So I'm trying to do it through this mental narcissistic medium of Instagram. And of course, I love it. Narcissism, I'm there. So it makes good images. It makes for really good images. Things that people transform themselves in front of these cameras. And I think sometimes a disaster, but sometimes it's beautiful to watch. So I make drawings of these images. So they're already not real. Then I put the drawings on Instagram itself to see how many likes or how I'm resonating and who's liking them. You know, and when I see a lot of peers liking the work, or when I see large numbers liking the work, it would most likely make me want to make a painting of the drawing, because it's voted. I mean, sometimes I have to do the unpopular ones, but in general, I know when I'm resonating with people. And I happen to have I have all types of good, wonderful people on my feed. And I think it's changed everything. Look, I remember when I first started on the Instagram, I was Richard Prince was in my studio, and we were talking about Instagram. He hadn't come up with the paintings yet, but he tells, we were talking about Instagram and what you could do to use the medium and into art. Richard is like a scientist, so he just wanted to be the first one out there, and he started his portraits. He sent me a text saying, this is a gold mine. That's what he said. I didn't get the text at the time. Like, gold mine, sure. And I realized the gold mine was the images. It's amazing. So, I'm coming up now with something that has to do, but it's not about Instagram even. It's about images. It's about society. It's about our mental states. And it's also about like making paintings based on drawings rather than photographs, using the same method I've been using. It's interesting. It simplifies the image very much, actually. It's not quite pop art. I don't know what it is, but we'll figure it out. I'm gonna be working on them. I have some time to work. Does that make sense?
Yeah, okay. It's super interesting.
Yeah. No, the Instagram's important. That's it's like writing your own book.
Yeah.
Actually, we all have that. It's amazing. I at the beginning, I used to curate shows. I would put pictures, of different artists' works that I like. It's a lot to do. And, like I have like 10,000 people that see it, it's nice. So, it's a big audience. And you know what's funny? People don't give likes. And then you go to a social activity and then tell you, you've been working so hard. I'm like, how do you know? Oh, I see the Instagram and they don't give likes. So more people see it than you imagine, So people are stingy, giving a like doesn't cost anything. Also for making the images. The likes are important, but remember, it's not the same as writing a check for the painting. You know, that's very different. So take it for what it is.
I think it's very interesting what you were saying about the possibility for an artist to build his own narrative.
Oh my
and not
God.
to, yeah, that's super interesting.
It's fantastic. Are you kidding me? Look, I remember when I got in, I was showing with this New York gallery, Aquavella, which is, you know, it's like a secondary. It's like an dead artist place, but I loved it because I was one of the 3 guys alive in it. So it was great. And I remember when I first got into Instagram, they got very mad. They're like, you cannot put these pictures, you know, this is vulgar. Oh my God, you know, how can you be so out in the open? And I realized they were keeping, the image they had was me inside. I'm like a guy in a box that makes painting. I was, you know, made to look as some cranky guy, which I can be, you know, I can be very cranky, but, you know, I wanted to look like a person who's alive, you know. As far as I know, I'm still here, so.
Yes, especially because art is not separated from life for an artist. So
No.
it's quite the same matter, the matter of the same flow, of the same person. So it's, I mean.
Yeah, you know, it has to do a lot with art, you know, like also like art people. We all think that, that we're morally very odd, very high up on our horse, and not, you know, just, you know, we're voters, you know, we have to sit through the same thing. You know, you want to get a COVID test, you got to make the line. We're no better. No, you know, just nobody here is better. We like pictures. That's great. And we live for them.
If I may ask, I was actually curious. You were saying about the Instagram that it's like creating your own exhibition as well, that you were sometimes putting photos of different artists, perhaps, I don't know, inspirations, I imagine. And also I was reading on the catalog that one of your aims, let's say objectives of painting for this exhibition in specific, was to use the interiors as you had used the buildings, as portraits of people, ideas, eras, and all that. So the interior is very, very important in this specificity of this exhibition, of course, by seeing the catalog. Because unfortunately we couldn't see at the exhibition. This
Sure.
COVID is really not
Neither did I. I wish I could. You know, I'm planning to go to Reggio as soon as possible, but you know, it just looks further and further every time.
Hopefully we'll be able, perhaps, we don't know, in a near future. We never know. It can change for bad, but it can also change for good.
You just gotta, you know, live back on the day. You know.
Exactly.
You know, in a way, it's kind of good about this time. You know, like you just don't know.
Exactly.
And
we just learned that we have to live day by day and playing it by ear a little bit. But as the interiors in this specific exhibition are so important, and as you were saying about the curatorial aspects of the Instagram, I was wondering if you were involved somehow, or if you want to be involved, if you're interested in being involved on the curatorial choices and the curatorial process of the exhibitions that you do. Are you very, very involved? Are you really, you don't want to be involved in?
Ask Sarah.
Wait.
I tell you, no, I can't. I you know, I curate for fun. I can't presume to be one. You know, in my experience, curators love art as much as us artists, and the difference is that they can somehow communicate to many. in a more effective way that I could.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I usually, look, if it's a little show or something, I'm happy to curate in my Instagram, sure. You know, these are my favorite people. But like Sarah, no, I can't.
But
Yeah.
thank you, Enoc, you're so very kind. But,
No, but
as the interns at the Guggenheim changes every month, I'm happy about this question, because actually at the Collezione Maramotti we don't have really someone defining himself curator, because all the things that curators are dealing with usually are like shared between us from the staff and the collectors, so the Maramotti family and the artists. I mean, every artist has his specificities and like to be involved in some processes and less in other processes of building a show and curating a show and communicating a show and making a book. So it depends, of course, but we always try to ask the artists' opinions and to share our ideas with the artists, to be sure that, I mean, it's important that an artist can reflect himself and his work inside the project, especially when it's not a solo show, but like in this case, a small group show, because the artists on show are three. There's Enoc's paintings and Brigitte Schindler's photographs and Carlo Mollino's photographs. And there is a concept behind this show, so it's important that the artists who are showing their works are like agree with this concept and feel that this isn't a betrayal of their research, but of course a promotion and enhancing of what they're doing. So that's very important for us to be very active and work together in close connection with the artists. So we were very sorry that Enoc weren't able to come to Italy for the installation of the show.
Look, but we're like, it's like the end of the world. So
yeah, okay. But we tried anyway to share the idea of the installation of his room, and we discussed the idea. He came, he hopefully last year in September, he came to Europe. It was in London, so we had a quickest chance to get him to Turin and to visit the Casa Museo Mollino. So he could really see the physical space and the house and take his own pictures. And this was kind of the start of thinking about this show, to plan to develop a series of new paintings dedicated to such a special place. And then all the idea developed in time, also discovering Brigitte's work and focusing about what work by Carlo Mollino we would like to show, what make more sense, and so on. But it's an ongoing. Start with an idea, and we start researching and discussing with artists, and the idea.
Politely, you did it very politely, because I had very specific ideas, and some of them, in retrospect, would have been very bad. And Sarah politely just brings it up to me, and you know, there's a respect that I think it just makes actually for a better exhibition. Like, you know, the exhibition like has moments that I could have never imagined. Like at the end, I think like Sarah decides to put the pictures behind a curtain. Amazing, you know, that like really great. I couldn't have imagined that, but when I remember when I saw it, I'm like, this people will talk about this show, and this is how we all depend on each other. This is you know, as a young man, I used to hate my dealers. I used to hate everybody, and you know, I'm a teeny bit older, like, you know, a little bit gray, and like I think like we all depend on each other. We all need each other. Actually, I respect the dealer, I respect the curator, I respect the art critic, look, and obviously the artist. And I think, you know, I think like being, I think good manners takes you a long way.
Yeah, I think that also the pandemic really shown us how we are connected, everybody with all people, not only in the art world, but really in a very general dimension.
Yeah, I think, look, it's, we're all, in a way, we're all creative people here. So, you know, we just, when we work together, good things can happen.
I'm Chiara from Collezione Maramotti, and I was reflecting on your words.
Hi.
About hi. Hi.
Sorry. It's just, you know, I have little windows here, so now.
Yeah, yeah. And with all the interns, I was disguised between them. So I was thinking about what you were saying about Instagram and the inspiration that comes from all these images, but I was also reflecting on painting. Do you think that with all these images, you know, we are bombarded with these images and pictures? Do you think it's more complicated to look at a painting and how Instagram changes the relationship with the viewer? Because, you know, Instagram is very fast. Even if I put the heart, my like on a picture is a very is an instant, is very quick. But looking at the painting, I think it requires more time and kind of reflecting moment. So
yeah, you know what? Thing is that Instagram's fast. You know, ever since like after the 80s, like we have been bombarded with images, all types of images. Yeah, it makes choosing an image kind of harder. At the same time, it is the artist's job to like keep you engaged. Like, look, I can make a picture that's flat and it doesn't mean anything. You can look, the subject's very important, but the thing about painting is that the way that you make it, the way that it you know, that it's done, it holds your attention. And for me, it's my job to hold your attention. So I go through thousands of images, and then I pick some. I wouldn't even call them inspiration. I see the images as like as a witnessing. You know, like I witness all these images, and then I do a curatorial process, which is the drawings, and then whatever works on paper. For example, I have made like 100 drawings in the past months, and out of those drawings, there's only been like 3 paintings or 5 paintings I want to make of the images. So do I know specifically if I'm looking for, let's say, subjects like socialism, War and Peace, the seasons? No, I don't know what I'm looking. I mean, I know I'm looking for something that gets my attention, but I'm trying to like find like that undefinable feeling inside of me through these images. What I feel like. I'm not a poet. I cannot talk with words very nicely, but I can talk with images. And I look for, at least I'm trying to show you how I feel. And, you know, it sounds corny, but, you know, you can discover a lot about your own state of mind, which maybe like others people in terms of your selections and the way you handle an image. And look, there's plenty of images, good images. There's not that many, and that's what we're making. You know, painting is the image and it's mark making. Remember, Liechtenstein got a loop and did all the dots in the cartoons, and he made them. I'm interested in mark making, and that's, you know, and then the image is what tells you what time of the day it is, and, you know, and the attitudes. Mm-hmm. I don't even think I have a sense of humor. you know, it's all like melancholic, like psycho confessionary style work, like a good Catholic, you know, just confessing away. That's that. Not too dark, right? It's okay.
No, 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 it's okay. It's really
Yeah.
interesting, and
Yeah.
you know, the topic is very huge. So,
Well, it's, you know, it's hard. It's actually an interesting concept, especially in the context of museum exhibitions, etc., that have to be conceptually clear and, you know, bring the message home like with much clarity. And in terms of like as a practice of painting, sometimes, you know, by instinct, and then you intellectualize things, and then you realize what's happening. And you know, it's a hard line to walk as an artist, because look, I can concentrate and make works about like myself being Puerto Rican, let's say, and do paintings about that, and I'm sure it'll get me a lot of shows, etc. But you know what was more profound, what like the stuff that keeps me up at night, like the stuff I would die for. How do you define that? And in, you know, things like love, like like spirit. Look, I'm painting those Mollino pictures. I to me, they're beautiful, you know, and I love them, but they look like ghosts. They're like spectral stuff. It's very strange, but they're nice. So um, there's some images.
thank you. Thank you. And just a curiosity, because we are talking about Mollino and his universe and this very enigmatic and full of richness, talking about creativity. Maybe, are you interested in the occult? I know this is a weird question, maybe.
No, I am actually. Why not? Look, what can I tell you? You know, I was born and raised in Puerto Rico, and you know, it's mainly Catholic. It's also very superstitious. I'm not superstitious. I don't think it serves me well. But in case, you know, I have certain rules just in case.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, of course, there's other angles to life. Look, we live. I think. Look, take art making. It's a way of like getting closer to God, and we don't know that for sure. You know, I haven't seen it, but it makes me feel that way, and can't explain it. Look, think of medicine. I had like an ulcer the other day. I had to go to a hospital it's like a year ago. And what surprised me is like, it's all primitive, you know. If there's something, they have to like put something in there and go in there and open you and like just go get it. We're not that advanced. Look at the way people think. Look how they vote in this country. We just had like, we had a potential dictator here, like, you know, like really bad, and yeah, people are down with it. You know, we're not far away from monkeys.
Sad but true.
I know. Yeah, but so the occult, sure, of course. Actually, yeah, why not? Why not? You know. Sometimes I feel like there's things I can't explain. How do you explain deja vu? You know, how do you explain like I don't know if it happens to you guys, but when people in my family that are important to me in the past have died, I knew without anybody having to call me. How do you know? So sure, why not? You know, I don't know it for sure, but sure, I think it could be. And that's the beauty, actually. That's where Mollino is like even more important for me, because it's somebody that openly addresses this, that in intellectual circles is like kryptonite. You know, go to an intellectual forum to talk about ghosts or aliens. People think you're crazy. And I can say it because I'm an artist, so it doesn't matter. But you know, in general, you guys as intellectuals go to a forum, talk about ghosts and all of that. You know, they think you're a lightweight, and you know, sometimes the people are just close-minded. So there, oh God, I'm coming out of here looking like the crazy person.
I'm keeping you out of there because I wanted to know, because I never asked.
Sure.
As you were a big fan of Carlo Mollino, and you told us that you have been studying the figure of Carlo Mollino for like 10, 15 years, and you have a copy of the Precious Message from the Dark Room, the original one, and you read many books and so on. And also the first painting, you took it from a magazine or from a picture you found in a book, and not taken from one of your pictures at the real house. So I was wondering, what did you strike you the most when you visited in person the Casa Mollino last year? What details, unexpected things that you couldn't have imagined before did you find in this place?
I actually, you know, I tell you, it's like going to see a person that you seen in photograph, but you know, you see them in reality talking and like moving, and it as with people, sometimes it's disappointing, sometimes it's better than you imagine. And in the case of Casa Mollino, it was much better than I saw. Actually, it was exactly as I imagined it, but then Fulvio Ferrari has so many like interesting little details. I went into rooms that I wasn't supposed to go into, and it was just better. It's just something very beautiful there. And I felt privileged to be, because you can see how time is affecting the casa, and I don't know how long that's gonna be there, and how beautiful it is. I was happy to go see it. Actually, it was better for me. It was a lot better, and there were corners that that are not extensively photographed. That house is very photographed, but there's always a new detail. I like the level of obsession, and that's that for me is for the good makings of art. I like to hear the river move as you're in the house. It's more of a metaphor. I mean, going there just made me realize that I've been right to be studying Mollino, because it's it's about artistic freedom, and as a painter, you can make all kinds of art that's popular, or you can follow your own vision, and I can relate to him.
Thank you. Yeah, that's great, and I suggest to all the interns to when and if we may go beyond the regional borders and the museums will be open again, to use this opportunity to be in northern Italy to visit Casa Museo Mollino, because it's a really special place.
Yeah, it's it doesn't take you long, and you still can like get Fulvio in there, who will tell you every story, and it's just I mean it's real. It makes it more real when you have people, and then like how Fulvio speaks about the occult with such freedom. He even plays you a video of a medium in the space talking in the voice of Mollino, which I thought, wow, I find more people like myself. I love it. So it was great.
Yeah, just Fulvio Ferrari is the director of the museum Casa Mollino in Turin, in Via Napione, and the video, the film, it's an artwork by Yuri Ancarani, and actually you can see a medium contacting Carlo Mollino's spirit, and so he,
Wow.
yeah, you can see that also when you visit the Casa Museo Mollino.
I would tell everyone to go. I think also in terms of, if you think about taste, like if I was an interior designer, I would put an eye on that, because it brings interior designer to the level of art. And, you know, you know, a lot of interior designers I know are into it, but I don't think they realize how much more into it they should be, or they could be. You know, it's really interesting. It's unorthodox.
Should we give the intern a small tour? Sarah?
I don't know, maybe if Enoc agree, because I apparently I should speak and say something, so the imagine can be my computer and not other things. But let's start from the beginning, maybe.
We have it in gallery view, so I think that at least if you don't speak, that is not a problem. But it would.
Okay,
okay, great.
Or maybe you
That's
can
better.
pin the Sarah's video, if you don't mind. So maybe Enoc could speak in the meanwhile. Up to you.
Okay, so I try to put the computer more or less horizontal. We will see, let's say, the first room.
Sorry.
Tell me.
Sorry to interrupt, but if the interns click on the right side of the, you can put spotlight video and you can see in big, just a little detail, practical detail. Thank you so much. Sorry to interrupt.
Okay, Chiara is there. The secret is discovered. Okay, that's the first thing you see when you enter the room. So this is the smaller painting of an oval containing a woman nude.
Yeah, I think that's a picture that probably Fulvio found and framed it and put it on the wall in the bedroom. I just thought it was really beautiful, so why not? And it's very much in the spirit of the house. Actually,
yeah, and also.
Go ahead.
Also, Enoc, tell me if I'm true. You were telling us that this was very important for you because it related in some way with the size and the dimension of Polaroids, and also the subject, of course, because it's a female subject.
Right. Exactly. That, you know, that to me is like, you know, like evidence of what the work that was done there. Yes.
And just to this side, you find this painting, which is a detail of the main space of where you can also see these two armchairs. It's a detail with a lamp and with these walls of the Casa Mollino, which in real it looks like wallpapers, but it's a real photographic stamp, which Mollino made from an ancient engraving of the 18th century depicting forests and deers. So this is a very.
Do you have a picture of the engraving by any chance, or do you know the artist?
I don't know. I don't think Fulvio told me in like the 7th or 8th visits I took to the Casa Mollino, but right. We can ask, definitely.
That would be really good to know, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, because actually in your paintings you choose these views where you can often see this these walls, this part of the walls.
It's one of my favorite things about it because it sets the apartment in a setting that's not reality, but it's based on. So you know, it sets you inside of a drawing, and I think that's a beautiful song. That's why you know, I love that.
And one of the things we should say maybe is the Casa Mollino is full of mirrors, big mirrors, which are partially matte now and oxidated, so they're not reflecting so clearly. They rather reflect part of things and part of the rooms, and let's say that everything becomes a bit mysterious with these reflections, but not complete clear reflections. And they were not born as mirrors. They were like doors from a theater in Turin, which was dismantled. And Mollino took these doors and make them became mirrors. So it's another invention by this genius. Then we have a big wall with 2 squared paintings. It's always the main room of the house. And you can also see here when Enoc was telling I could hear the river outside because the house is directly in front of the Po River. So even if it's a kind of shadowy house, it's not so dark. There's light. There are big windows, big door windows especially in this room, and you can really hear the sound of water outside. There's a great connection with nature, even in the artificial things. As you can see in this, for example, here, you find definitely human artifacts. So a zebra skin and let's say these big shells, which are like decorative objects, but they're also natural objects, and they're going outside to the terrace and to the river and to the water. And also you direct in the front to the other side of the river, you can see the hills around Turin. So it's a really like strong connection with nature and with something which is not artificial in this house. And also there is a beautiful garden full of roses. Harry is very proud of. This is the very first did about the Casa Mollino. It's the only one from 2018, right, Enoc? All the others are from 2020.
Yeah, that one was earlier because it was again, when I started the interiors, it was the first interior that I thought of that I wanted to make. Still like one of my favorites.
Yeah, I agree. And then there are 2 smaller paintings from other details of the casa. In one, I'm sorry, I can really not able to put this like something like this. In the painting with the red armchairs is the place where you can also watch this film by Yuri Ankarani with the medium asking questions to Carlo Mollino and speaking with him. It's like, it's the only one which, and because, speak about the title, Enoc, maybe, of all these paintings.
What was, I think I put the address on them, right?
You just put the address, and it's the same for everyone. But for this one with the deer and the 2 red armchairs, because it's after Fulvio Ferrari, because the red armchairs are not part of the original house, but they were added by Fulvio Ferrari.
Yeah, I wanted to give him credit too, because you know, it wouldn't be together anymore if it wasn't for him. And I think I don't know, that I think that's special. I like that. And I think a lot of what happened, there's a lot of moments in that house that are of Fulvio's making. That's just a suspicion, you know. I think he's kept to the history, but it takes somebody with a sense of originality to make it come to life in that way. That's why I added him to the title.
And then the last one is this one.
Yeah, that's at the entrance. That's with the man ray included. I like that. I always like that picture. And if you look at it too, it makes you think of the house as a place of surrealism, which I cannot think of this, the Polaroids or these paintings without thinking about surrealism, which that's what happened in there.
Yeah. He actually, as a photographer in the 30s, Mollino did, is, let's say, one of the first, it was very familiar with photography, because when he was a child, like in the early years of the 20th century, his father installed a camera oscura, so a laboratory to develop photographies, and so it was something really also from a technical side very familiar to him. And in the 30s, he developed many photographs which were really strongly connected with surrealism and surrealistic inspirations. And he also signed these photographs, so he definitely considered them like artworks.
Really? Do you know of any signed Polaroid?
I'm sorry?
Do you know of any signed Polaroid?
Yeah, there are. No, Polaroid,
Really?
no. No, Polaroid, no. No, Polaroid,
That's
no.
interesting. Okay.
No.
Just maybe he didn't have the time to. No, but he could have had time. He didn't.
He signed like 40, I think 30 or 40 photographs in his whole life. So
wow.
Really a few.
Wow.
Of everything. Also in the 30s, in the 40s, he really signed a few. So he really considered like artworks and complete and achieved artworks, very few of these works with photography.
Probably he wouldn't have liked anybody making paintings of that. Oh God.
What did we do?
I don't know. I'm not gonna, I'm just saying. Wow.
I have a question.
Sure, hi.
Bueno, gracias por la charla, es muy interesante. I would like to ask you, because the last year I had the opportunity to live in New York, and I know like it's a really competitive like city with a lot of people. Like, was really difficult to start your career in that city?
Yeah. Yes, of course. It took me a long time. I was art handling for many years to make money. And then I think, I showed, I had my first exhibition right after I graduated from doing my master's. It must have been like 25 probably. And then for years, I just laid low until I came up with, I didn't feel that the work was ready. So from like the 1990s, from like 1992 probably to like 1998, I didn't show the work to anybody. I didn't think it was good enough. And then in 98, I invented the process that I have now. And I thought, okay, maybe now I have something that's different, because look, in New York, you're going against something like 200,000 artists in this city, probably more. Why would anybody want to show you? So you have to make sure that the work is undeniable, that the work is impossible. So you know, at the time I didn't know, but you know, later I get diagnosed as an obsessive compulsive, which served me very well when painting buildings. You know, when you're painting 1,000 windows, that's just crazy stuff. The reason why I'm saying that is that I knew that I could make paintings that other people couldn't because of that level of obsession. And so I tried to make the most difficult paintings I could. And, you know, and I got the attention. You know, I got what I wanted. And, you know, by the method alone, I knew that I had something different. And that's why they started to show me, because I could make a painting without using brushes. Well, you know, it wasn't the idea. The idea was to make paintings using printmaking to relate to New York City School of Painting. But I knew look, you have to be a little bit, you have to have a lot of fantasy life to be able to make art, because you have to believe in something. And, you know, you have to believe that you're gonna do this and that you're gonna get it. Still today, you know, it's not like, yeah, I have responsibilities, you know, and, you know, yet I live looking for what the best idea will be. And when the idea is always it shows you the way, and you have to believe in it almost blindly, you know. So yeah, you know, it's not the normal thing, but being in New York actually, to a great extent, makes me even better, because I know there's somebody else staying up later doing their work. So, you know, yeah, that competitive part is wonderful. I'm never been mature enough not to be competitive. But, you know, at the end of the day, it's just it's about quality of the work. And I truly believe this, you know, the market, you know, the market's whatever, quality of the work's undeniable. And look, I see a Delacroix today, and I still feel like, oh my God, you know, it's like the biggest punk, like how great. And that's, you know, that's quality. So however, whatever it takes to achieve that. Again,
Yeah.
a little bit of the occult there, in the way that, you know, you make art because in the hopes of some kind of eternity, you know, the work will outlive you. So, you know, there's that.
Yeah, thank you. But that's good because you push yourself to be better and different, and now you are here. Like,
You have to, you know, you have to. And even now, look, I was talking, a good friend of mine is this guy, Tony Shafrasi, who famously defaced Guernica back in the 70s. He spray painted on Guernica something among the lines of "Lies Kill All" in protest of the Vietnam War. Anyway, Tony told me, like, look, you know, the struggle never ends. Do you have a story? I already have a story. I came to New York. Somehow I broke through into the art world, which is not easy. To me, I'm still struggling. How do I keep everybody's attention? How do I keep the attention of the art public? And, you know, for that, you have to change and adapt. You know, I wish I could be a Morandi figure, making such a commitment to subject, or a Robert Ryman. You know, I'm just not that guy. But, you know, but I love their work.
Thank you so much, really, Enoc, Sara, Chiara, so much, Chiaras, perché comunque, thank you really
Two Chiaras.
exactly. Thank you so much for your time and for your availability. It was
for organizing this meeting.
We're
Thank
so
you, and thank you for showing up.
the preview, and hopefully until May we can go to the Maramotti collection.
There's a lot of good stuff
know.
there.
We never know.
It's a good visit.
Thank you so much.
Also because the visit is the visit, so this can be transmitted through a screen. So definitely, we hope that you will be able to join us.